Hey guys, Omni here. Batwoman was finally back from its hiatus, and I just watched last night's episode just a little while ago, and I'm ready to talk about it with you guys. So if you haven't seen last night's episode, be sure to tune out and come back once you have, because we're about to dive into some spoilers. So the episode opens, as we know, with the last episode ending with Kate leaving Alice in Arkham. We find this opening with Kate playing Mortal Kombat in her home, but Alice is there. And they have this little conversation, this debate, this little back and forth about who's better in Mortal Kombat and all this stuff. And it's really endearing. And we have this line with Alice who's like, I'm so glad you never gave up on me. And Kate replies with you're worth it. You were worth it. And it's just this whole thing where you're like, this is in Alice's head, isn't it? This is like what she's envisioning. Because this is really diving deeper into how she really doesn't want Kate to disappear out of her life. As much as she tried to push her away, there's still that part of her that wants that connection. And then we cut to reality, and she's being electrotherapied in Arkham, just electrocuted by this doctor who's just trying to treat her, quote unquote treat. It's hard to feel sympathetic for Alice because she brought so much of this onto herself, and I still struggle with that a little bit because I just find the character really endearing, even though she is so much in the wrong. And I think that's mostly just because of Rachel Skarsten's performances, which are brilliant. That being said, we cut to Kate fighting some crime, stopping a robbery. And, she has this moment where she's like, all right, I got the jewels. I got the stuff you're stealing, just get out of here. And the guy walks past and turns to threaten her again. And she hits him, parries and blocks him, knocks him down a flight of stairs. And she has like a flicker of PTSD, like it starts to hyperventilate and get like a panic attack as she's like, oh no. And she gets her flashes back to her strangling Cartwright. And we're seeing that carry over and affect her mentally and physically in this situation. Cause he's like, oh no, did I kill another person? I mean, last time she got a little too violent with a person in the middle of an alleyway as well, and it's really starting to come down and affect her. She's really trying not to go down that road and reliving it. After this, we cut to a 1 week later where a cop wakes up in his car with a bomb strapped to his vest, with a timer counting down, with this jigsaw-like message, like the tape recorder with a pre-recorded message, hits play and is like, you got to decide, you're going to play a game, almost exactly the same tone of voice. And basically, there's a random bomb planted somewhere in Gotham, and then there's the one on his chest. If the timer runs out, his bomb will detonate and kill him. He's got a button to disarm his bomb, but which will remotely activate the bomb somewhere else in Gotham. So it's putting this choice on him to either sacrifice himself to save the people wherever the bomb is somewhere in the city, or die and spare those people. The game here is to get them to reveal that they're not the heroes that they say they are, and they will save their own skin at the cost of someone else's life. And in this situation, the cop saves his own life, and 12 people die in an explosion at Gotham Bank. And we get in a little cut later with the news talking about how this tragedy happened, and, Batwoman has been MIA, not seen for the last week since we last saw her stopping that robbery. And she has not been seen since then. So there's other people that have within this week, like I could see this over like a span of a month, but I think this is a little bit of a rush into it, that she's inspired doppelgangers, because in this explosion that happens here in this 1 week later scenario, I would say a doppelganger, this person posing as Batwoman with their own makeshift Batwoman suit, comes into her clinic for treatment from injuries from that event. A lot of people were being treated there as well. And she's like, why are you doing this? Batwoman inspired me. If she hasn't been seen, someone's got to do it. She's inspired people to kind of take up this mantle, because without Batman, without Batwoman now, also the city is scared. And I guess like the idea behind this was that they're putting the city itself in PTSD with, if there hasn't been a Batwoman sighting in, this many days, what if she disappeared just like Batman did, abandoning us just like that? And meanwhile, back in Arkham, Mouse and Alice are in this therapy session, like one of these therapy circles. And Mouse is really talking and opening up, and how this place is actually starting to warm up to it a little bit, or at least that's the implication that we're getting in this moment. He's talking about the safety, the roof over their heads, and all this stuff, and being with his sister. You know, he's actually starting to become happy here. In comes Thomas Elliot, who is rambling about his obsession with Bruce Wayne and like talking about how they're all just giving in. They're all just, you know, he's just belittling everybody. And Alice just calls him out for being just a Bruce Wayne wannabe or something like that. And he also has like this knife or a shiv or something hidden in his boot, which he sees as well, which is so obvious that it's there. I don't know how no one else notices, or any of the guards or orderlies or anybody. It's like this long and sticking out of his like ankle cut shoe. I don't know. That's one of the small moments where I was like, my ability to suspend my disbelief is a little fractured in this moment. We cut over from Julia and Sophie investigating the detonator, which is what the people are calling this person that is setting up these bombs or whatever. And, you know, they're trying to figure out how it is. They think, is this tied to this Crow situation? Or is this something completely different? Back at the Batcave, Luke is actually training as Kate shows up as he's boxing away at this punching bag and getting pretty solid there, and just putting out his frustrations and all that. Clearly still got a lot of pent up rage after what happened with Reggie a couple episodes ago. And, you know, he's like, all right, I assume, I haven't seen you in a week. I assume you've been investigating Cartwright's disappearance. And she's just like, not really. And he's just not understanding. He's like, you gotta listen, we're a team. You need to be open with me. I'm like the only person who sees you all the time. You need to let me know when something's going on. And she's having trouble still admitting that, because even just looking at the bat suit has her freaking out, because she doesn't feel worthy of that suit after what she did to Cartwright. And it's really reflecting back on her, and it's holding her back in a lot of these situations. Back in Arkham, when Alice passes Thomas Elliot in the hallway, she makes a snide comment to provoke him about Bruce Wayne. And he just comes at her and stabs her. And when he stabs into her side, she grabs onto it and keeps the knife and somehow hides it. But she's got this gash in there, and then she gets to the infirmary. They stitch her up. Later, after she's been stitched up, she does meet back up with Mouse and talk about, you know, getting out of there and trying to escape. And she's like, I got a plan. And she like scoops. I don't know if that she hid the shiv in her wound. Maybe. I can't quite, I'm not quite sure where they went with it, because she undoes the stitches and digs around in there. So I guess she hid the entire shiv inside of herself. I don't know. Then it's here that we learn about the next victim, which is actually the defender in the Reggie case, who was, standing up for the little guy. So that's his like, all right, are you going to do it? Are you going to kill yourself? Or are you going to kill all these people? And they putting him in that situation. The Crows, however, and GCPD show up and try to clear the area and figure out what's going on, because they figure out that they want the killer wants to have the bomb within earshot of the victim, so that they hear it whenever they save their own life. So they determine that it has to be within a 1 mile radius, and they start clearing all the buildings and everything within that time as fast as they can. They got like 30 minutes to clear out all the buildings, which is feasibly impossible in a city like Gotham. However, they managed to do it somehow, except for Mary's clinic, which happens to be within the radius, but nobody knows about the clinic, so nobody checks it. Kate rushes there because she knows about that, trying to get to Mary, get her out, and everybody's trying to get out of there. Mary's getting them out. She's got some patients that are unable to move. She stays behind and tries to protect them, or the best she can, the ones she can't actually get out. The Batwoman doppelganger shows up and even starts to help her as well, and Kate gets there just as the explosion goes off, and so many more people are injured. The doppelganger's got this giant shelf on top of her, and she's like, what is this person doing with the Batwoman signal or the bat suit or whatever? And she sees that even that replica suit of hers starts to trigger her PTSD, and she has to like leave into the hallway. And Mary finally comes out there and admits she knows that she's Batwoman. She's like, listen, you've always been there for me. You've always helped me support myself and get through this stuff. Whatever is going on with you right now, you got to push through it. I believe in you. You know, you're not perfect. You don't have to be a hero. Just worry about moving forward. Meanwhile, back in Arkham again, Mouse has his own little session with the Electro Doctor. I don't know what you call them, but he's getting hooked up and he's talking about him all pleasantly about how he likes his new situation, his revelation about being safe and in Arkham's really nice. And just when he's like, the only thing I don't have is power. And in that moment, he just like rips loose, not rips loose. They were about to strap down his free hand, but before they could get it down, he just straight shivs the guy right in the ribs. And that's the last we see of that guy until later when it's very clear the mouse has taken that guy's face and is now presenting and parading around as that doctor within Arkham, now effectively taking control of it from that position of power within Arkham. So they come to decide that rather than breaking out, they can become king and queen of Arkham while everyone outside of the city just forgets about them over time. And when it's finally time and they're forgotten, they will strike, I guess. But in the meantime, they're going to be building their own little empire within Arkham while they live in, I guess, as much of luxury as they can given this situation, because he makes like it's better to live like king and queens here than like rats on the streets of Gotham. And I like that parallel. I like that analogy. Between Julia, Sophie, and Kate investigating this new detonator, they come to the conclusion that this is not the original, as he has passed away after Kate's confrontation with his son. And this has to be a copycat. And because the details of the case and the specifics of the case were never released to the public, it had to be somebody that was on the investigative team that had that's information to follow up, because there's this repeating number that shows up on all the detonation plates, which means that the only way that would have been known if they were inside. So this ends up being somebody that was with the Crows. And then it loops back into the conspiracy with Lucius Fox. And just as this is figured out, the guy knocks out Jacob and takes him as his next victim, and the bomb this time being at the base of Wayne Tower. After they learn all of this and try to figure all that out, Kate confronts him before he gets away and is able to take him down, and she takes him to Wayne Tower to try to force him to disable the bomb, as he loosely admits along the way that he was responsible for what happened with Lucius Fox, and that he's been paid to cover all of this stuff up. And we learned that the person pulling the strings behind all of this was actually Thomas Elliot, who was trying to get at Bruce Wayne through Lucius Fox by getting access to his journals, which contain all of the Wayne R&D schematics and information on all of their technology. And Luke comes in with a gun and is about to lose it, about to just cap him for everything, for Reggie, for his father, for everything going on, like this rage, this unbridled rage, just like what happened with Kate and Cartwright. And it's when in that moment that she admits to him finally that she killed Cartwright and that she cannot let him go down that same road like she did. And they have this great tense moment, and he looked intense. Like Luke nailed this, and I loved it. Thankfully, though, they're saved because Lucius Fox, because this is Wayne Tower, built it to be bomb-proof and had blast doors on every level, and they were able to contain the explosion to just the area in which the bomb was contained, and they drag the guy out. Jacob is allowed to detonate it, saving himself, and the explosion does not take out Wayne Tower. So they get him, take him hostage, get all the information out of him, and start pinning up a lot of people that were involved in all of this. I guess still it doesn't really tie back into Thomas Elliot, and though I don't know what that'll change because he's already locked up in Arkham. So I'm not sure if this is the end of that thread or if we're going to see some bits of this come out later. There's an interesting moment at the end of this episode where Kate and Luke start to open up about what happened. And, she starts explaining why she feels the way she does, why she doesn't feel like she deserves to wear the suit and all of this stuff. And Luke is like, you're not the only one that's felt like that. You're not the only one that stared into the abyss and lost. Have you ever wondered why the Joker hasn't reared his head in 5 years? He's not in Arkham. And she's like, even Bruce has went down that road before. So in this universe, I guess Luke is telling us that Bruce Wayne had killed the Joker. He had given in. There was the moment he couldn't control, and maybe after killing Jason Todd, maybe after whatever happened in this world with this Joker, Batman put him down. And that's not something that has been ignored in the comics before either. It's even hinted at a couple of times that before Rebirth and New 52 that Batman had killed the Joker. It's a theory. It's not really substantiated or backed up by anything, but character had been very much so absent until the universe got reset. So who knows? But in this timeline, in this show, Bruce killed Joker. That's the biggest revelation in this, and I thought that was really surprising for them to bring up. And I don't know. I don't know how a lot of people are going to feel about it. I have some mixed feelings on Batman killing because at the same time, I hold the ideal that, Batman has his one rule that he just will not cross. Even in some instances where it would very well be the best option in this situation, he will not kill. And I think that's like the idealist in me who likes that. But I think the realistic thing is there will be a breaking point, and maybe even this was the first time he ever crossed the line, and that was what instigated the rule. I don't know. See, there's a lot of different ideas around it, and like even in the Batman Keaton movies, he killed people, and we're not talking about just in the BVS stuff. Even in those, he did. In the comics, he has, but only ever out of self-defense, never out of malice, never out of like that was my first option is, well, I'm gonna kill you, unless it's like an Elseworlds or something that's not necessarily canon. I mean, it's not unheard of for Batman to kill people, but I know it's a very sensitive subject. I'm curious what you guys thought about it. If you watched this episode, what did you think of that reveal? The B plots, again, I think the show handles its A and B plots in this very, very well. They're well balanced, well paced out, and spread out to keep the flow of the episodes really going. Again, I think it does it better than some of the other shows. I think it handles it a lot better than Supergirl by every stretch of the imagination. And sometimes more so than even Legends and Flash. Flash, though, I think still has the balance down very well. I think it does it the best, but this show is running really good at how to balance the primary plots and the B plots. And maybe that's because there's less characters in this show compared to the other ones, so it's able to keep things a little more contained. I don't know. I liked it. I like this episode. I'm curious to see how these seasons for these shows are going to pan out in the wake of everything that's been going on right now, since not all of them had finished filming. It's still unclear if they're even going to finish their season orders for this season. I don't know. What do you guys think of the episode? What do you guys think about what's going to be going on with this later down the road? Let me know your thoughts so we can carry on that conversation after the video. And thank you guys for tuning in. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode of Batwoman. Take care, everybody.